Are you worried about Brexit? Are you worried about the UK economy falling apart? Then you need to own the world. So owning the world, what does that mean? So the wonderful thing about investing is you don't necessarily need to own the shares in the country that you live in. You can own the world. Technology today is wonderful, and you can essentially do so many things that you couldn't do even 10, 20 years ago. The fintech industry is amazing, and you can do so many. The vehicles today are incredible compared to what you used to do before. So we in the UK here think we kind of get lost in our own kind of story, and we think Brexit's going to be detrimental to everything. The whole world's going to fall apart. But the great thing is, as an investor, it doesn't even matter what's happening in the UK economy, because you can diversify across the whole world. There's different countries that grow different, the different kind of stages of growth to other countries. So we have what we call the BRICS, so that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These previously were the emerging markets, the kind of the young kind of countries that are growing rapidly. Today, these are almost quite established. Like Russia, China, India, although they're not as kind of technically advanced as kind of the States or kind of Japan or Germany, for instance, they've grown rapidly already. So if you bought those shares 10, 20 years ago, the kind of growth on that is incredible. So you can own other different types of kind of Rothko calls it a different kind of stage of growth. So there's almost like a high growth rate and then kind of a slow plateau when kind of countries become established. Think of Japan, Germany, kind of Sweden are kind of good examples of kind of established kind of countries. So you can look at the BRICS. So you can look at the frontier markets. These are the next kind of emerging markets that kind of what they're called the next kind of stage where where their growth is at the kind of infancy. So these kind of countries are, so the African nations, they're going to be huge in the next 10, 20 years time. So a lot of the barriers that they've had in the past, so I mean, it's a very kind of hard place to transport goods, for instance. There's quite a lot of political kind of turmoil in Africa. With the internet, a lot of these kind of problems go away almost. So it's going to be a massive growth area. Vietnam is going to be huge as well. That's kind of an old kind of communist country, and that's kind of adapting to the kind of the Western model. That's growing rapidly. Cuba, another one, that previously was had an embargo of kind of US products, but now politically that's been lifted. You've got a lot of tourism there, and you've got kind of a lot of kind of growth there. So these are kind of looking ahead. In 10, 20 years time, these countries are going to be rapidly growing, whereas other countries, even with Brexit and other kind of problems that kind of the old established countries might have, they might not have the kind of the rapid growth that you'd seen kind of 10 or even 60 years ago in the kind of the 60s and 70s, where Britain had kind of rapid growth and growth in share prices. So although we like to think that we're all high and mighty, we're like 6th biggest economy in the world. It's still great, but don't get stressed out about Brexit and kind of these kind of very local problems, because, as I said, the world's a big place, and you can invest with technology today. You can invest so many places. You can buy very cheaply different stock markets from around the world. Japan's another one. Australia. These kind of are also kind of established countries that have been growing. Kind of they don't necessarily have a high kind of the massive growth that you'd see in kind of emerging markets, but they've got kind of the slow, steady growth that you might want in a portfolio. So just to summarise, don't get bogged down in kind of the internal local politics and the kind of economies, because with investing today, technology today, you can own the world. You can invest in so many different places very cheaply that you couldn't do kind of 10, 20 years ago. Look at the BRICS. They're not necessarily the emerging markets, what they used to call previously, but Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa are still growing very rapidly. The frontier markets, although you're kind of moving up the risk scale quite a lot, but if you're thinking of like a 10, 20 year time span, if you're, say, a 25-year-old who's not going to be taking this money out until they're 55, this might be a good option for you. So these would be, as I said, the frontier markets, Cuba, Vietnam, Turkey would be a really interesting one. African nations as well. And then also you could look at established countries, so Australia, Japan, Sweden. These kind of old, they don't necessarily grow as rapidly as kind of the frontier markets, but don't stress out about Brexit. With investing, you can kind of tailor the portfolio around you, making better decisions for you. Hope this made sense. Own the world.